What's poppin', guys? Sean Down is back. Here we have Jadyn and Anczarski, I want to say. Could be pronouncing that wrong. Um, but that's what I'm going to go with, Anczarski, I think. Jadyn, whatever. Here he is throwing the weight at an intra-squad meet, technically. Um, so let's just get right into it with a little side view.
Poeński jest sama.
So, one more time.
Poeński jest sama.
Pretty good. So, as I've said before, I am generally not a fan of the wind, but Jadyn looks like a big guy, looks tall, looks like he could put on some weight. Haha, get it? It's a pun because he's throwing the weight. That's a terrible joke. Um, but yeah, so generally not a fan of the wind, but I think he does, yeah, not as good a job as I would like to see on the wind. Right from the start, you can see his posture is less than ideal. So as he begins his wind with his forward swing and backswing, his hips are back and his shoulders are forward. He's got a nice stable shoulder width base, so that's good. But like I said, so Jadyn, you need to think about sitting your hips down and your hips forward and push your knees forward more over your toes and have your shoulders directly, or I guess your shoulders are in a fine spot. Your hips need to be directly underneath your shoulders, whereas currently they are, your hips are behind, back away from the shoulders, back away from the ball. Not ideal posture. So when you set up, take your stance, sit your butt down, push your hips forwards, and keep your torso perfectly upright. So that'll make things easier. Also, try looking at least, so it looks like you're looking just at about 0 degrees, to the back of the circle, to this back wall. When you do wind, especially in the weight, because it is so short, your shoulders are turned back to this right wall. Turn your head back to the right wall as well. So that way, when you go to wind, you can connect with the ball earlier. So yeah, so as you can see, your eyes are still looking back towards 0. Your shoulders are opening up, which is good, but you'll connect even sooner if you can at least just look towards maybe that corner or this right wall, like I said, like 45 degrees before 0, or 2 o'clock-ish approximately. If you keep your eyes in that direction, you'll connect with the ball earlier. Outside of that, try to flatten out the wind. So this preliminary swing, you go from low to high, and then it goes down, and you're getting a nice pendulum motion going, but at the same time in the weight, it is very hard to manage that up and down pendulum motion. It needs to be a little bit flatter. And I know you're only doing 2 turns, so you do kind of need the wind to get the ball going in a way. And you look big enough and you look strong enough to handle a 3-turn weight throw. I don't recall, I'm not sure how long you've been throwing, but you definitely look like you have the stability and technique to do 3 turns. It would definitely take some while to get used to, so I'd recommend maybe trying that out. It's early enough in the indoor season where you can still get in some good work with the 3 turns, and still have a good feeling, good technique come championship season when you're doing your conference stuff, or even yeah. But so 3 turns might also help. That way you can you can employ a sling start to help out with this entry overall. But if you're going to do 2 turns, like I said, the wind is kind of what you have to do. Otherwise, it's so hard to get the ball going, especially if you're not strong enough. So yeah, so balls comes down, comes back up, and then so what I would prefer is during this preliminary swing, like I said, it comes back to setting the posture right from the start. So hips more forward, shoulders back, torso completely upright, whereas right now there's probably like a 15-degree angle. If this is 0 or 90 degrees, this would be 15 degrees shy of that. try to keep the ball more flat. So imagine there is a table in front of you, a dining room table full of food and silverware and glasses, and what you want to do is keep your hands above that dining room table, or another cue is to think about keeping your hands at about sternum height, or even, I like to even emphasize shoulder height, because what what feels like shoulder height is actually sternum height, and what feels like sternum height is actually hip height, and what feels like hip height is actually below your hips, which is where you're at right about now. So when that ball comes down and then back up, there's this incredible vertical force coming crashing down on you as you try to connect with the ball. And that just makes it so hard to find connection. It makes it even harder to hold posture, which I said is not ideal from the start, as your hips are just slightly backwards. But you do a good job of turning your shoulders back. Like I said, turn your head just a little bit more, and that'll help even more. And your arms look nice and long. But so like as the ball comes through here, if you were to keep your hands about shoulder height, as the ball comes around your head, this is about the level that you want it. You don't have this drastic upward angle with the weight. But so as the ball comes around here, think about keeping your right hand up. Don't let your right hand drop so much. Like I said, keep your hands above your shoulder height as it comes through on this entry of this wind. So like you can see this right elbow beginning to drop. That hand's going to drop, the ball's going to drop, and it's going to kind of come crashing down on you. So yeah, as you can see, it's already starting its downward trajectory, and you're shifting back pendulum, which is good. And see, so like this is decent posture. All right, it's not terrible. Hips are slightly forward, or at least more than they were. Shoulders are slightly back, but they need to be back a little bit more over the hips. And what would make that easier is, like I said, flattening out these winds, or flattening out the wind in the entry. With the ball coming crashing down on you here, you can't really use that right side at all. And as you see throughout these 10 frames or so, the ball is moving and dropping and dropping and dropping. This right leg should begin to start turning at about this point, but instead you just get this shift backwards through this left leg, and that's a sign that the left side is going to start being a little overactive. So the ball comes crashing down, you're not very connected with the ball, and you can't use this right side, so you can't use that right foot, knee, hip. The whole right leg is kind of just chilling there as a support. It's not actually doing anything throughout the throw, where in reality the right side should be the engine and the left side should just be the axis, whereas right now your left side's trying to do both, and that's kind of inefficient. So yeah, like I said, this left side is shifting back because there is no right side, and that right side really doesn't start going until the ball is already at 0. Like I said, just moderately inefficient. But like I said, this posture here, like I said, it's close. It's close. Shoulders should be a little bit back more over the hips. And I think that would get just tremendously better if you flattened out that first one. So really keep your hands up at about shoulder level above the sternum. If you can enter the ball and it's no lower than your belly button. So this ball should be up about 2 feet. Not that's 2 feet, that's drastic. I'd say maybe about 1.5 feet. But about, like I said, belly button height. If you could enter the ball with belly button height, that would make things so much easier. You'd have so much more linear velocity through the throw, which is what you're looking for, because while yes, the hammer does move around you rotationally, to accelerate it, you must move in a linear fashion. So the ball comes down. Like I said, this right side gets kind of left behind as the right side, and this is where a back view would be good in terms of back view of the video. I bet you this left hip is shifting away from the ball just a little bit because it is trying to do the work and create tension because you did not use your right side too much. And you can even see this this right knee, it comes forward just a little bit. That's a sign that you're giving to the ball, rather than, like I said, using that right leg and kind of pressuring back and using the pendulum and using that right leg to push back away from the ball as it approaches 0, whereas right now, like I said, it just kind of turns with it and this left side takes over. So that right side does get kind of left behind. You can see your eyes are peeking. That's a sign the left side is going ahead. This left foot is slightly ahead of the ball. And then your hip is slightly back away from the ball. Right side's left behind. I've already said that. And then as you come through, I wouldn't call this super steep, but to do a two-turn, yeah, you do have to be slightly steeper. But that right side getting left behind because you don't use it in the entry means you're probably going to catch late. That's my hypothesis. Okay, so not terrible. Not terrible. Comes down, ball's probably halfway in between 270 and 180. And, was it 240? No, it's not even close. 215? Something like that. But so this is the big thing here. With this ball being so steep, like I said, you're lacking the linear energy, the direction, the pendulum. You should feel the energy pulling you towards 180 in each turn. As you're at the front of the circle, you should feel yourself working backwards towards 180. And then as the ball comes around left, you should feel the ball working you towards 180. And what happens is, because the ball is so steep and it comes down and there's just as much vertical and rotational energy as there is linear or horizontal, you don't quite have the direction or the energy towards 180. So you have this slight lean here where these hips should be more over your feet and your shoulders. Once again, hips and shoulders should be more over this base, whereas right now you're kind of back away from the ball rather than towards it, and like I said, letting it take you forward. And you come down and you don't over rotate. Your feet are pretty solid in terms of alignment. You're not catching super staggered, meaning your right foot is super far forward in the circle, or you're not over rotating a bunch so you're catching late. But this slight lean here, and I would bet that your left shoulder is a little bit lower, once again because of the steep orbit in the entry. As the ball gets to right around here, you want your shoulders to be level, hips level, and then you want as much weight back on this left foot as possible. So this left shoulder is behind this left hip, and this left hip is over this left foot. But then as you come down again, the ball is so steep, and it rushes past you so quickly that you can't really use your right side at all. So let's see how this turns out over the next few frames. Alright, so notice this left side is moving. This right side is going to stay still probably. And same thing, right side doesn't really turn until it's a little late. So like once this foot comes down, it should start turning immediately with that left foot. But it takes a few frames to get going. And to be fair, see, now this is a much better turn. Once the ball has some initial velocity, you can see how much easier it is to turn that right side with the ball. That right femur is in line with the right arm and the ball. The left side is turning more in conjunction. The left leg, at least, is a little bit closer. There's still a little peaking with that head, a little left side leading, creating tension because that right side got started so late. And as you come around, see, so now you give to the ball much better, but then you also don't quite work the ball around enough because this left side is leading. So ideally, as the ball gets to about here, or at least where your body is at, is decent. Your hips and your shoulders and your feet are square to 90 degrees out to the left, but the ball is back behind at like 75 degrees. Ideally, at this point, the ball should be at 90 as well. And from there, so you can see you're just ahead of the ball slightly. From there, the ball would go free. It would pull you forward. You feel the pulse and direction. But let's see. I'd argue that your orbit in the second turn is, I don't know if it's less than your first turn. Let's go back and check. So ball's high point just about head level, just above it, and then so yeah, it's just slightly higher. Like I said, I think a flatter first turn would make working the second turn much easier, and I'd argue that, and I don't know if, like I said, I don't know if you've have tried doing 3 turns yet, and I bet you if you have, with this current technique, you find it very hard to do 3 turns because, in my opinion, the ball is going to be too steep. It's hard to stay in control of the weight when it's too steep and you do too many turns. So that's why I think most people revert to a 1-turn or a 2-turn with a very steep angle. So if you do try 3 turns, like I said, a sling start or just a much flatter wind in that first turn would go a long way. But like I said, with that left side leading just a little bit here, you can see the ball starting to go ahead just a little bit. Right hip is chasing it. That's a great job with this right leg. It's finally working well. You just need to find that right off the entry and not, going into your final turn. But like I said, with that left side leading, you do catch kind of a little bit more shallow, and this is going to kind of block you out and make it hard to really get through with your hips on this final turn. And kind of the same thing as previous turns. Right side doesn't really do much after it comes down, hits. Left side works, and then right side finally takes on its job after it's a little bit too late. But this is good posture here. So this is the kind of posture that you want to have in the entry. Shoulders back over hips. Like I said, this is the natural posture of the body when you're trying to produce force. This is kind of like the power position. Hips underneath the shoulders, triple extension, all that stuff. And then as you come through, you can see left side leading. Right side's not doing much. It's turning a little bit, but it's mostly this left side that's creating all the force and energy. And you end up getting the hip through, but it's not quite as perfect as you could. As you can see, you kind of do this backhanded finish that I see a lot of people do nowadays. Kind of coming across and boom. So, yeah. And you see that left side pulls forward because you are blocked off. So, yeah. Like I said, overall, flatter winds I think would help out a ton. Or flatter wind. And then just using that right side, turning that right foot, turning that right knee, using that right hip. Better posture in the entry. Set your posture before you even begin your winds, flatter winds. And then more right side and less left side. But overall, it looks like you got a nice long wingspan and you're strong enough. I think you said this was about high 14 meters. I think you have 16, 17 meters in the tank. So at least. And then I'd like to see, like I said, if you could learn how to do 3 turns, I think 18 meters would definitely be possible this year. Yeah, so you can see the biggest thing here, you can see the lowest point of the weight in the entire throw is right in the entry. Right about there. Ball gets about knee height, and from there on out, once you get some centripetal force going, it rises up just a little bit. Same thing here. So the steepest the orbit is right through this entry. I think if you just flattened out this portion right here, you flattened it out and could learn to work that right side better, dude, you would drop some bombs. So get that fixed up, brother. So thanks for watching. Yeah, that pretty much covers it all. Like I said, better posture, flatter wind, flatter entry, more right side, and you're gonna throw fire, kid. So thanks for watching. Sean Don, peacing out. If you want a technical analysis of your own, go to www.seandonnelly.biz. Go to the services page. I offer 2 different versions now, a $5 version and a $15 version. In depth. That's what this is. So thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe, like the video, share it if you found it worthwhile. Thanks again for watching. Have a great day. Goodbye.